नमस्ते। कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं कृष्णाय यादवेन्द्राय ज्ञानमुद्राय योगिने नाथाय रुक्मिणीशाय नमो वेदान्तवेदिने यस्मात् ब्रह्मेन्द्ररुद्रादि देवतानां श्रियोऽपि च ज्ञानस्फूर्तिः सदा तस्मै हरये गुरवे नमः। श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। ಕೃಷ್ಣ ವೃಂದಾವನದ ದಶಮಾನೋತ್ಸವದ ಈ ಒಂದು ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ನಮ್ಮ ಗುರುಗಳಾಗಿರತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಶ್ರೀ ಶ್ರೀ ಸುಗುಣೇಂದ್ರ ತೀರ್ಥ ಶ್ರೀಪಾದಂಗಳವರು ಪುತ್ತಿಗೆ ಮಠ ಉಡುಪಿ ಇವರ ಷಷ್ಠ್ಯಬ್ಧಿಯ ವರ್ಷದ ಈ ಒಂದು ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿಯೂ ನಾನಾ ವಿಧದ ಒಂದು ಸಾಂಸ್ಕೃತಿಕ ಹಾಗೂ ಧಾರ್ಮಿಕ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮವನ್ನು ಹಮ್ಮಿಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ಅದರ ಪ್ರಯುಕ್ತ ಇವತ್ತು 17ನೆಯ ಪ್ರವಚನ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ನಮ್ಮ ಮಠದ ವಿಶೇಷ ಅಭಿಮಾನಿಯಾಗಿರತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಶ್ರೀಯುತ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ವಿಘ್ನೇಶ್ ಭಟ್ ಇವರಿಂದ ರಾಮಾಯಣದ ಮಹತ್ವವನ್ನು ತಿಳಿಸಲಿಕ್ಕಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ವಿಘ್ನೇಶ್ ಭಟ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಮಠದ ಪರವಾಗಿಯೂ ವೈಯಕ್ತಿಕ ಪರವಾಗಿಯೂ ಸಹಿತ ತುಂಬ ಹೃದಯದ ಸ್ವಾಗತವನ್ನು ಬಯಸುತ್ತೇನೆ. ವಿಘ್ನೇಶ್ ಭಟ್ ಅವರ ಪರವಾಗಿ ಇವಾಗ ವಸಂತ ನಾರಾಯಣ ಅವರು ಅವರನ್ನು ಇಂಟ್ರೊಡ್ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿಕೊಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ. 1 ಗಂಟೆಯ ಕಾಲ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರಪ್ರಥಮ ಬಾರಿಗೆ ಈ ಪ್ರವಚನ ಮಾಲಿಕೆಯಲ್ಲಿ ಪ್ರವಚನವನ್ನು ಕೊಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಇದ್ದಾರೆ. ವಿಘ್ನೇಶ್ವರ ಅವರೇ, ನಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ಹರಸ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ರಾಮಾಯಣದ ಮಹತ್ವವನ್ನು ಹೇಳಿ ನಮಗೆಲ್ಲ ರಾಮನ ದರ್ಶನ ಮಾಡಿಸಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ತಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಕಳಕಳಿ ವಿನಂತಿ.
Thank you, Raghuramji. Welcome, sir. Today we are very honored to have Professor Dr. Shri Vighnesh Bhat. He is a freelancer education consultant on higher education. He is also honorary president of Foundation for Culture and Media Studies. It's a registered society working for comprehensive rural development in Karnataka, India. He has been member of many other reputed institutions, like he was part of University Grants Commission, Government of Karnataka and Government of India. In between 2000 to 2010, as part of UGC, he played a key role in drafting the blueprint for higher education for India. Also, he had several different positions in various reputed institutions like Central University of Hyderabad, University of Pittsburgh, and Kuvempu University, Haramaya University, Ethiopia. Professor holds an academic PhD degree in sociology from Pittsburgh, USA, and Masters in Sociology from Pittsburgh, and his MA Psychology from Nagpur University and MCH from Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. He was awarded with prestigious Andrew W. Mellon Fellowship at University of Pittsburgh, USA. He was honored by Governor of Karnataka for his book on KT Bhashyam. Kuvempu University also honored him with Sadhana Puraskar, and there are many more awards that he had throughout his career. He's having around 30 plus years of experience in education and research. He has guided more than 20 plus students for their PhD degrees. So we have an eminent person today with us to deliver a lecture on ethical values in Ramayana. Thank you, sir, for joining us today, and I would like to request you to take over from here. Thank you.
Thank you. Om Idadevahur Manurjajnane Prahaspatirakta Madani Shabasi Shadvishve Devasu Uktavacha Prithvimatarmama Higuntir Madhumanishe Madhujanishe Madhuvakshami Madhuvadishyami Madhumatim Devebhyo Vachamuddhasagunsho Shoshinyam Manushe Ebhastama Deva Avantu Shobhaya Epitaronumadantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopi Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. My salute to you all. In fact, I am beholden to the organizers for giving me this opportunity to interact with you all and to share whatever little that I know about Ramayana, messages that we carry forward to our present living. There was a very nice, in fact, flowering, flattering introduction to me. I must convey to you all that I am a very humble student of Vedic literature, Sanskrit literature, and Indian society. Thanks for this opportunity once again. Let us begin. At the very outset, I must tell you that Ramayana and Mahabharata both are portions, and I am here with a spoonful of knowledge. I have gone to this large portion called Ramayana with my spoon, and I have taken just a little bit, and several of you in the audience know much more than I do. And it's a two-way learning process. I learn from you, and you learn from me whatever little that I know. Yes, and next 60 minutes, I shall really try to tell you some important messages that we really carry. I don't need to tell you the story of Ramayana, obviously. But one thing I must mention here is that these two great epics, Mahakavyas, Ramayana and Mahabharata, have influenced Indian society, Bharatiya Samaja, in ways too numerous to recount here. It's 1 hour time to talk about Ramayana is very, very little. It's not 1 hour, it's not even 1 day or a week to speak about the influence that this society had because of Ramayana and, of course, Mahabharata. After this Adikavya, Ramayana has come. 2,000 odd years, the whole literature was influenced by this. Whole social life, socio-cultural life, religious life, spiritual life, all these have influenced to a certain extent by Ramayana that we can really recount. I shall divide my lecture into 3 parts. First, I shall just generally introduce Ramayana as Mahakavya, an epic. And then I shall generally speak about some of the basic ideas Ramayana has. I don't recount the stories, obviously. And then we shall talk about 7 important messages that Ramayana conveys us that are relevant even today. Let's begin. Ramayana is known as Adikavya, I said, and there is a lot of reason for that. Ramayana covers all aspects of Indian social life, Bharatiya Samaja, and its aspects, all aspects. It's not only just spiritual as often understood. It covers cultural, covers social, and even the folkways. I shall just tell you a small idea on this. When there is in folklore and in rural areas, in general colloquial talk, then there is a long, contradicting, confusing, and conflicting kind of argument related to a particular incident or a particular activity. People say, oh my, this is a long Ramayana. Oh, you don't got the Ramayana ne bidi, they say. What is the bidi? Ramayana is the fight between the good and the evil. That's what it is meant. So Ramayana has influenced us too many times. And it's an Adikavya, it's a Mahakavya, basically because it covers all the Astadasha aspects, 18 aspects of any Mahakavya. And there are too many characters, there are so many incidents, and it really covers the rural, the urban, practically all aspects of Indian society. It is a Mahakavya also because it's big, 24,000 verses. Ramayana is written in Anushtup Chandas, that's meter, Sanskrit. The Chandas is meter, Anushtup Chandas. And yes, Greg Kavya when there was no proper written language anywhere in the world. That's how it is. Adi Kavya, the first one to come of this size, of this nature, and of this magnitude. Let us also, before I really talk about the ethical principles in Ramayana, let's also look into this very word, Ramayana, the story of Rama. What is the meaning of this word Rama? The word Rama comes from the original Bijakshara Ram, R-A, Ram. And what does this really stand for? Ram, and the Vriddhi of that Bijakshara is Rama, Vriddhi is extension. And it means rejoicing, standing erect. It means literally, it means support. Ramayana has been a great support to this society and to huge number of societies, a lot of society. I shall recount later. And Ramayana is also, although it is Deshatita and Kalatita, it doesn't have temporal dimension, it doesn't have spatial dimensions. It is beyond any one society or one community or one group or one jati or dharma, religion. It does not have a temporal dimension as such, but it is placed in Treta Yuga. This also has a great meaning. Why Ramayana is placed in Treta Yuga? Look at the word Treta. Tri is tree. So Treta literally means to join or to unite. Three things are united here. It's a tripod. It is having three legs. And Treta Yuga, in Treta Yuga, Dharma stands on a tripod, three legs. What are these legs? Who are the promoters of Dharma here? Very interesting. In Treta Yuga, there have been three avatars, incarnations of Lord Vishnu. Vamana, who has grown into Trivikrama, Parashurama with an axe, cut all the papa, sins of the world, and of course, the hero of our Ramayana, Rama. Three avatars, three incarnations in Treta Yuga. It's a tripod, three legs, to place Dharma. So Ramayana has many unique things, being the very first one on Indian society of that time. It really cuts across all these general boundaries to speak about one's righteousness, one's duty, one's dharma. I said that Ramayana does not have temporal dimensions already because it influences us even today. For the last 2000 odd years, it has been just influencing. No temporal dimension of limitation, kala. And it also does not have spatial dimension, desha, kalatita, deshatita. For example, Ramayana is not limited only to India. Look at Cambodia, look at Thailand, Nepal, or the whole of Malaysia, Southeast Asia, in fact. Ramayana has influenced in too many ways all these societies. So even the spatial dimension, Ramayana does not have no limitations in terms of time, no limitations in terms of space. So this is something very, very interesting. We shall pick up on this, time permits, later. And another word that I used is ethical principles, or to put it, values. Maulyalu. What are these values? Values are the hidden treasures of any culture. They mirror the style of living. They mirror the style of functioning, thinking, and acting in any social system, in any society. They are rooted in tradition. From values come norms, standards, folkways, mores. Values become the generic principles, and norms are the typical statements of conducting social relationships on the basis of values. Just I'll give you an example to clarify. Don't steal is a value. And don't take away someone else's pen without his knowledge is the norm. So values make the foundation of any society as such. So let's look into some of these values as the title of my talk today goes. And what is this that Ramayana really stands for? Ramayana stands for Dharma. Let's be clear on one thing. Dharma is not a religion. That's a very poor translation. At the best, religion can be translated as mata. Dharma is much, much beyond that. Dharayati iti dharma. Something that holds. One's duty is dharma. And everyone has one's own duty. And that is his dharma. So Ramayana talks about this kind of a dharma, which is so wide, which engulfs all social relationships, irrespective of one's religion, irrespective of one's mata, or irrespective of one's caste, jati, and all that. Ramayana begins with the word Bhat. And what is it? And when we speak of dharma, dharma has very close relation. There is a statement in Ramayana, Veda Praji Dasad Asit. What I'm really trying to say is all the principles and ethical, moral principles that Vedas talk about are explained in Ramayana to Rama is one. Okay, let us now look into some of the basic ideas that we have in Ramayana that we can really take to our present lives and how Ramayana becomes really relevant to us today in Indian society and in global society. In this time of globalization, wherein every aspect of in the one corner of the world influences the other, entire globe as such, in terms of economy, in terms of finance, in terms of social relationships, and in terms of values and principles. Ramayana really becomes relevant. And when I speak of this, unless I really quote Ramayana, I mention Ramayana, it looks as if I'm speaking in 21st century, in 2021. It is that relevant, that much modern in thinking. I shall just tell a Sanskrita shloka to begin with, wherein I can count some of the major messages, and each one I take up for discussion and explain. Ramau Lakshmana Purvajam Raghuvaram Sitapatim Sundaram Akutsam Karunarnamam Gunanidhyam Viprapriyam Dharmikam Rajendram Satyasandham Raghukula Tilakam Shamalam Shantamurtim Vande Lokabhiramam Dasharathatanayam Raghavo Ravanari. I mentioned 7 values here. What are these 7 values? Each one I shall take up and discuss. The first one is Sundara, the concept of beauty. The second one is Karunarnamam, kindness is the value. The third one is Gunanidhi, virtues, righteousness. And fourth one is Rama's described here as Dharmikam, Dharma. The fifth one is Satyasandham, truth prevails, truth triumphs. Rama has been Satyasandha. We shall come to that, each one later. And he is Shantamurti, someone who has conquered anger. He is Shanta. And he is Ravanari, someone who has won and who has established good over the evil. These are 7 messages that really carry. Each one, let us look into. The first one is Dharma. I mentioned it already. Dharma is something that shows us the path of righteousness. Doing one's own duty is Dharma. Rama, the hero of Ramayana, is Maryada Purushottama. He is someone who is Purushottama in terms of Maryada, Dharma. And it's very, very interesting that Valmiki talks about this in no uncertain terms. While mentioning about dharma, what is one's dharma, Rama tells, or Valmiki tells the words of Rama, he says, Dharmo hi paramo loka dharmam satyam pratishthitam. Dharma is final. Do your duty, and that's final, he says. And Rama lives. Shall come to that. Elsewhere, Vasishtha talked about this in his advice to him. Dharmena labhate sarvam, dharma saram yam jagat. That's what Ramayana tells us. So dharma is the first thing that we carry. Let us do our duty. We are expected to do certain duties to our society, to our family, to our friends, to our neighborhood, and to the whole society, and to ourselves. It's always said that there is one corner wherein we can really improvise every day, every minute, that is within us. So let us begin with us and let us do our duty in the righteous way. And that is our dharma. My dharma is not any particular mata. My dharma is doing the responsibility, doing the duty without really hurting others, doing my duty that is expected of me by society. So the first message that we carry is do your duties. That's what Ramayana says in no uncertainty. In fact, I remember Dharmena labhate sarvam is Valmiki. This great poet talks about dharma very elaborately, various characters, various people, both sages, rishis, as well as kings, and of course Rama, talk about dharma very, very elaborately. That's the first message that we carry in Ramayana. The second message that I mentioned is Rama had been Satyasandha. And the message that we have is 2 times in the final analysis. Upanishad has told us, talk truth. Don't lie. Satyam vada dharmanjara satyameva jayate nanratam. The Upanishad and Ramayana mirrors it. Ahuhu satyam. Look at this word that Valmiki says, or Rama says in Ramayana. Satyam hi paramam dharmam, dharma vido janaha. And there are statements, so many statements. Satyamulani sarvani. I'm quoting Ramayana. Satyamulani sarvani, satyam naste param padam. There is nothing else except Satya. Be truthful to yourself. And truth times in the final analysis. And Dharma and Satya are not really different. That's how I quoted Upanishad. Satyameva jayate nanratam. Anrata is against Rata. Rata is Dharma. So Anrata, that's lie, is against Dharma. It's not only against truth, but also against Dharma, because Dharma and Satya, truth and righteousness, go hand in hand. In a way, in social life, they are inseparable. We must remember this second message. The third one that I mentioned, that was the last one that I mentioned, that good takes over evil. However strong evil is, in the final analysis, the conflict between the good and the bad, good takes over. Good also triumphs over the evil. The whole story of Ramayana is this. Really, Ravana had all the power. He thought that he is powerful basically because he has armory. He had huge army. He was powerful basically because as Rakshasa, although he was not born as Rakshasa, he was Veda Vidya Parangata, but unfortunately his eyes were blind. He was both Madandha and Andha in a real sense. And he thought that he can control devatas, he can control human beings, he can control sages. And he got into life of lust. sense of power was materialistic, and it had taken him to lies and lies. And then came this fight between the good and the bad. I said that victory over the evil is something that Ramayana talks about in every chapter, literally. Whether it is the story of Kataki, Khara, Dushana, to begin with, when Rama was still very young, or whether it is the story of whole story. There is also a question of Vali. Oftentimes critics talk about Ramayana on two occasions. Vali was here, killing of Vali, and Sita Parityaga. It's a different topic altogether. One can really look into how evil prevailed, good prevailed over evil even here. But I really don't get into it. I don't digress into that aspect. Someone else would mention about it on a later talk. And here it is. The whole story is that evil finally is destroyed. Remember Bhagavad Gita? Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bhavati bharata abhyuthanam dharmasya atmanam prajamya. Says Krishna. And this is exactly what Ramayana tells us through this story. Various characters talk about this. It is the third message. The fourth message is kindness. I said that Karunarnamam was the word that was used earlier. And Rama had been very, very kind. In fact, the entire idea of Ramayana started with this kindness. Two Kroncha birds in their Mithuna, and hunter killing the male bird and the female bird crying. What happened? This whole episode, incident of Manishadha, what happened in Ramayana? Shoka had come as a shloka. Shloka has become a shloka. Ramayana. Kindness is a great virtue, and that is something that we learn from Ramayana. And Rama had been very, very kind in practically every step. Kindness is the greatest virtue in human life. That's what Ramayana tells us. Gratitude is vital. It's very, very vital aspect of a serene life. That's how when Rama is described as Karunarnamam, Karunanidhi. This is what we learn. It is another message. And associated with this, talking about dharma, talking about truth, talking about kindness, and all this. There's another something very interesting. That is, Rama is described when he was born. Devatas also said that he will be a Jita Krodha. He conquers anger. And he is Anasuya. Anasuyaka is the word that Valmiki uses for Rama. And what is this? One over anger and one over jealousy. Interesting. And this is the fifth message that we really carry within Ramayana. What happens here? I shall just quote an incident. Ravana is dead, and Vibhishana is not quite ready to do the last rites for Ravana, although he was his elder brother. Rama says, no, you have to do it. Anger is dead and gone. I did not kill Ravana. I killed his lust. I killed the evil in him, and he deserves last rites and by you. He convinces Vibhishana, saying that you have to be Jita Krodha in Valmiki's term and Anasuyaka. So these two are interesting messages that we have. Jita Krodha and Anasuyaka. So Rama, we learn in Ramayana, Valmiki tells us this. And associated with that, he also tells us another bunch of values associated with this practice as norms in our lives. He says, Valmiki tells us that plant seeds of faith, not by preaching, but by practicing. You practice what you preach, what you tell others. Otherwise, you won't become a guru. You won't become a sublime human being. You won't become Maryada Purushottama. You become a Dharmajna, all words from Ramayana. Only when you practice what you say, what you tell others. If I tell all others, speak truth and nothing else, and if I keep on lying, white lies and black lies, then I really am not leading a serene life. My life is not only truthful, it also practices adharma. So plant seeds of faith, not by preaching, but practicing, is something that Ramayana tells us. That's also a bench that we have in all this. When I spoke about Pranarnama, when I spoke about Gita Krodha, when I spoke about Anusuyaka, that is someone who wins over anger and jealousy, and someone who is very, very kind to all living beings, not only to humans, but also all living beings. And Valmiki is very clear about that when Rama talks about it. And another value that I mentioned earlier is it is not your position, but your service that really matters. I shall come to a story a little later. And just before concluding, I shall just tell you a story on this. But the message that we have here is, it is not your position, but your spirit of service that really matters in the final analysis. So this is a bunch of messages that we have, and I call them all as a message group 5. The 6th message is loyalty. Look at Rama. Rama had been Ekapatni Vratastha, had only one wife, Sita, and that's it. And if we look into Raghuvamsha, all ancestors, several of them, had more than one wife. Rama's father had 3 wives, as we know. But Rama said, no, I am loyal to my wife, and I will be Ekapatni Vratastha. And loyalty is a vital feature of great character and great character building. Rama becomes an example of this. And we take it, loyalty. And associated with this is the 7th value that I talked about, unity and true friendship. In fact, I mentioned about this earlier also. What is needed today for a society like India or elsewhere, a global society, is that we must understand that as humans, we are all not only similar, but also carry similar virtues. We are expected to lead similar social lives. And unity is the most important aspect of a good social life. Look at the family of Rama. Dasharatha had 3 wives, as you know. All these 3 wives and 4 kids, Rama, Lakshmana, Bharata, Shatrugna. Lakshmana had been very, very close, but let's not get into that. All these 4 were really united. They understood each other. They participated in each other's welfare and well-being. Bharata and Shatrugna had been physically apart for a considerable period of time from Rama and Lakshmana, but still psychologically, mentally, although they were physically apart, they were united. They were united spiritually and psychologically, even when they were separate. So unity becomes very, very important. Look at the army that Rama had. It had Balukas, it had Vanaras, it had human beings. In fact, in the form of Vibhishana, and there were 2 demons who were also part of this army mentally. So unity is very, very important. Don't divide yourselves in terms of mata, in terms of jati, in terms of race, in terms of color or language. Because as human beings, we are all supposed to live a life which is united, life which takes all of us together and which forwards us to a better life and a better life. And along with this unity is this message is the message of friendship. There are two examples of friendship that we get from these two epics, Mahakavya, Ramayana and Mahabharata. One is Rama and Hanumanta. The other one is Krishna and Arjuna. Even compared to Krishna and Arjuna, they are also blood relatives. Bhava. They were brothers-in-law. Whereas Rama and Hanumanta cut across all these relationship boundaries, blood relationship. In fact, one was Anara and the other one was Vanara. And what a friendship. Ideal friendship. While Hanuman considered Rama as his God, Rama always took Hanumanta as his closest friend. Someone who always stood, and both of them stood for each other. And this is the seventh message that I mentioned, unity and friendship along with loyalty. That is also a part of our, that should be a part of our dharma. Let us look at an interesting episode that I mentioned about this. This is a story from Aranyakanda. And this is a value that all of us must hitherto accept and practice. That's the reason why I'm quoting this incident. In Aranyakanda, as you know, 14 years of living in forest, hermitage, Rama also becomes almost a hermit and leaves all his power, his army, his princely living, and with Sita and Lakshmana comes into Panchavati. Janasthana is the place in Panchavati where he lives for over 10 years or so, and peacefully. And in that there is a description, a conversation between Rama and Sita. And Sita would like to find out whether he really misses something and whether he is really happy here in the forest. And Rama responds. Look at this response, very interesting. He says, look, Sita, and here we are. And in Ayodhya, I was in the morning when I get up, I have to dress in a particular way, with silk clothes, and I have to eat in a golden plate. I have to go and meet the ministers, the army chieftains, and then I have to get into administration. I have to look into all various aspects of the routine administrative jobs. And there are lots of requirements. There are requirements from the army, there are requirements from family, there are requirements from people, and all that. And there are certain ways that I was expected to behave very formally. Look at me here. I don't have to bother about silk clothes, pure silk clothes. I have the kashaya, very simple clothing. And then I don't have to look for my golden plate. I have lots of leaves around. I can just take a leaf. And the fruits that Lakshmana brings in for me from the forest is my food. I don't have to have a particular kind of food as such. And instead of engaging myself in routine administration, I can spend time with sages. All this happens and makes me happier and happier because of one reason, that is that lesser the requirements and wishes, happier I am. More is happiness. The joy, the gratification, happiness is directly associated with the requirement. If you require more, less will be happiness. And if you start really living a simple life and require less and less, then you have happier and happier times to come in life. This is very interesting, and this is a very, very vital message that we carry from Ramayana. I also must tell you this, that Ramayana talks not only about a particular person, to this person, Maryada Purushottama, it gives us all the basic values for a righteous life. It not only personifies one person. In fact, Ramayana is a personification of rich values, I must tell you. I shall also give you another example before I conclude. An incident that happens. Ravana is dead, and Vibhishana is about to become the king. He doesn't accept, but Rama says, you have to pick up. Lakshmana asked a question while returning in Pushpaka Vimana. He asked, brother Rama, I am curious. This Sri Lanka, this Lanka is so rich. It's all gold everywhere. It's diamonds everywhere. Rich and rich. And don't you think that you must stay back and enjoy this? And Rama smiles, looks at Lakshmana and tells this. Api Swarna Mayi Lanka Name Lakshmana Rojate. Lakshmana, no, I am not interested in staying back because all this Swarnamayi Lanka, all the gold, the diamonds and wealth that Lanka has, doesn't attract me. Why? And then he says, Janani Janma Bhumishta Swargat Vigariyasi. I have to get back to my motherland. I have to get back to my mother. I have to get back to my people. Janani Janma Bhumishta Swargat Vigariyasi. Lakshmana, Lanka doesn't attract me basically because it is my real heaven is in my Janmabhumi. I get back to Ayodhya. In fact, Ramayana ends, and as Rama ends his incarnation, his Ramavatara in Sarayu Nadi, this is precisely what the poet says. That there is, obviously there is no death to eternal being. There is no birth, there is no death, basically because it's Ananta and Anadi. No root, no end. Ananta and Anadi. But Avatara has the last avatar, the seventh avatar, the last in Treta Yuga has to end. And Valmiki is very conscious of this. He says that here the avatara ends, begin a new incarnation. And all this, I hope I'm not taking too much of time. All this tell us one thing, all these incidents that I have quoted tell us one thing, that Ramayana has a lot to contribute to our lives. Let us recount the messages that I have just mentioned now so that we can have some time discussion over that. The first message that I mentioned is righteousness, not righteousness. That is something that we really need in modern society. I'm not just quoting Indian society, which I live in. Dharma, or doing one's own duty, is expected of every country, every population, and every individual today. More than what has happened in Treta Yuga, Kali Yuga, in today's world, this is precisely what we need. Following Dharma, doing one's duty, choosing the path of righteousness. And all of us have a possibility of becoming Maryada Purushottama. We must also, I must mention this also, that God, Vishnu knew and Shiva knew that Rama is an incarnation. He is Shakti Puja of Vishnu. But then Rama himself worshipped gods and really worshipping Shivalanga, both in Ayodhya as well as in Janasthana in Ujjayi and elsewhere. Before he went, he started fighting with Ravana and his army of demons. He worshipped Shiva. Yes. That's basically because as human beings, all of us have capacity to become Maryada Purushottamas. Taking all these messages, the ones that we have discussed until now, it is possible, and that is dharma for all of us. It is not that it is possible, but also it is needed today. It's a necessity, it's a requirement. The modern world, wherein everyone transgresses from his dharma to someone else's dharma, from his duty to someone else's duty, and his responsibility to someone else's responsibility. Dharma is really needed. And as we said, all of us can become dharmistas, and becoming that, all of us can achieve that great status, getting all these worldly pleasures. And if we really start doing that, we can reach the stage of Maryada Purushottama. And we all realize that Dharmo hi paramo loka. Dharme satyam pratisthita. Valmiki's words. That is something that we must look into today. The other one is truth. Needless to say anything about this, we always made a differentiation between preaching and practice when it comes to truth. And it's globally widely accepted that lying is part of our life. And business or no business, lying becomes an integral part of our personality today. All of us lie. But if we try our best to be truthful to ourselves as well as to others, to society, certainly we can achieve higher goals. And global society certainly becomes much, much better than what we are today. So truthfulness, ultimately, truth triumphs, I said. And Valmiki said that, I'm quoting Valmiki. And to do that, all these concrete disputes, all the disputes about mata, religion, all the disputes about our thoughts and disputes over our finances and our greediness, and all turn into virtues if we really become truthful to ourselves as well as to others. Start with us. Let us be truthful to ourselves. So once we really become truthful to ourselves, an institution like family really becomes more enjoyable and more constant, and it will be a pleasure to be a member of any family. Let's be truthful to ourselves and to our family members, our neighborhood, and to our society and global. So that is something that's very, very important on the second message. The third one is victory over the evil. All of us really cannot take Kodanda as Rama did. No, but we can fight evil. The evils of corruption, evils of unkindness, the evil of violence, the evil of being bad to others. And that is something that we must really try. Victory over evil is something that we can do within ourselves. We can, the evils are inside as well as outside. And we shall, again, I shall mention a little more about that later. And this evil can be taken up by ourselves, and that is victory over the evil. And this also can be done with a bunch of messages that Ramayana gives us. And I mentioned Hita Krodha and Anasuyaka were the two words that I have used. try to be as angry as possible. Today, our life is dictated by frustration and disappointment. Basically, because all of us are in running. We keep running. There is so much a competitive world outside. Competition has become a part of our life. We change only through competition. It's something very strange. That means stability has become less relevant to us. Competition and change has become very relevant to us today. We compete with each other. And that makes us krodha. Krodha bhavati tamoha. Tamoha mati vibhrama, says Shankaracharya. Krodha leads us to moha, and moha leads us to mati vibhrama. Let us try to be as less angry as possible. Let us really try to kill the anger with us. Jita krodha. Rama is characterized as Jita krodha, and that's what we must learn from Rama. The other one is anusuyaka. No asuya, no jealousy. That is an ideal. Let us really try to go near that ideal as far as possible, as much as possible. Anusuyaka. Don't try to be jealousy. Always compete. If at all you have to compete with yourself, not with others. Otherwise, jealousy increases. Today we see people becoming jealous amongst their own family members. Wife competes with husband, and son competes with father, and brothers compete. And jealousy naturally takes human beings to all the evils. So, this bunch of messages that we talked about, loyalty was another. Are we really loyal, not only to others, but also to ourselves? We talked about practicing and preaching, a combination of these two, bringing this as nearer as possible. You practice as much as you preach and what you preach. And loyalty is, are we loyal to ourselves? Are we really trying this? And unity, no, there's no needless case to mention how unity is really required. We fight on issues of diversity. And we celebrate diversity. We talk about our language, our country, our family, our neighborhood, our property, and it's all I and us. And this, nothing wrong if you really have to progress, but progress with the others. Unify all this. Unity is our strength. And in fact, Sanatana Dharma talks about this unity as a strength in very many stories and very many, even Upanishads talk about it, and Panchatantra stories. And unity is a message that we get from Ramayana. I gave examples of how united they were all. And friendship, I also mentioned about this. I gave the example of Rama and Hanumanta as the true friendship. How many of us can really stand and swear we have true friendship with someone? At least one. Our friendship is almost like waves. It comes and goes. And by the time this wave, another wave comes up and engulfs this earlier wave. And many times we suffer basically because we do not have true friends to share. And as age progresses, we really start learning how lonely we are. And Ramayana gives this message of friendship, true friendship, importance of true friendship. So unity and true friendship are two more messages that we have. And the last one that we talk about is you are duty bound. If you don't do your duties, there will be no more. You will not progress. You will be a living being dead in reality. Dharma eva hato hanti. Dharmo rakhati rakhida. Dharma, as I explained earlier, is one important message that we must carry from Ramayana. It's not enough that recite Ramayana shlokas. It's not enough that we keep on listening to Ramataritamasa or Sudhir Phadke's Ramayana, Marathi and various languages. It's not enough that we mention Panchavan shlokas from Ramayana. It's important that we take these messages for our contemporary life. Make it relevant to us. These two great epics, Ramayana and Mahabharata, are relevant even today. They are relevant basically because they answer several of the questions that we have today in modern life. They are relevant globally. They are relevant not to any particular region, not to any particular community. They are relevant, cutting across all these spatial and temporal dimensions. And these are the messages that Ramayana talks about. And I have a few incidents to tell. So finally, I conclude by saying that read Ramayana, take messages from Ramayana and make it a part of our lives. We are not Ramas yet, but it is possible that all of us can reach the higher level wherein we nearer and become nearer and nearer to Rama. Rama is an ideal, but let us really try to practice lots of these ideals, values, the ethos, the principles that are given by Ramayana. Thank you very, very much for listening to me. Thank you.
Namaste. Apadam apahārtāram dātāram sarvasampadām lokābhiramam Shriramam bhūyo bhūyo namāmyaham. ರಾಮನ ಕಥೆ ಕೇಳಿದಾಗ ರೋಮಹರ್ಷಣ ಆದಾಗೆ ರಾಮ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲೇ ಬಂದು ಏನು ಇದ್ದು ಬಿಟ್ಟು ನಮ್ಮನ್ನು ಅನುಗ್ರಹಿಸಿದ್ದಾನೆಂಬಂತೆ ರಾಮನ ಇಡೀ ಜೀವನದ ಸಾರಾಂಶ ಅದರ ಮೊದಲಿದ್ದು ಮತ್ತು ನಾವೇನು ಕಲಿಬೇಕು, ಜೀವನದಲ್ಲಿ ಹೇಗೆ ಅಳವಡಿಸಿಕೊಂಡಾಗ ನಮ್ಮಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ಬರುತ್ತೆ, ಏನು ಅದರದ್ದು ಏನು ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ, ಅದನ್ನು ಅಚ್ಚುಕಟ್ಟಾಗಿ ಬಹಳಷ್ಟು ಸ್ವಾರಸ್ಯವಾಗಿ ಇಂಗ್ಲಿಷಿನ ಮೂಲಕವಾಗಿ ನಿಮಗೆಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಆಶೀರ್ವದಿಸಿದಂತಹ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ವಿಘ್ನೇಶ್ ಭಟ್ ಅವರಿಗೆ ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳು. ವಿಘ್ನೇಶ್ ಅವರೇ, ಇವತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಸುದಿನ ಯಾಕೆ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಚಾತುರ್ಮಾಸ್ಯದ ಈ ವ್ರತದ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಭಗವಂತನ ಧ್ಯಾನ ಮಾಡತಕ್ಕಂಥ ಯೋಗ ವಾಕ್ಯ ಅದು ರಾಮನದ್ದು. ಹೇಗೂ ರಾಮ ಮಂದಿರವನ್ನು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಭಾರತ ದೇಶದಲ್ಲಿ ಕಟ್ಟಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರು ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಈ ಸಲ ನಾವು ಕೂಡ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ರಾಮನ ಲೇಖನ ಯಜ್ಞವನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಹಮ್ಮಿಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೇವೆ. ಆ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲೇ ತಮ್ಮ ಅನುಗ್ರಹ ಸಂದೇಶ ಬೇಕಿತ್ತು, ಕಾರಣಾಂತರದಿಂದ ಮುಂದೂಡಿದೆ. ಇವತ್ತು ನಮಗೆ ಚಾತುರ್ಮಾಸ್ಯದ ವ್ರತದ ಸಂದರ್ಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಭಗವಂತನ ಒಂದು ಶ್ರವಣ ಮಾಡತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಯೋಗ ಭಾಗ್ಯ ದೊರೆತಿದೆ ತಮ್ಮ ಮೂಲಕವಾಗಿ. ಹೇಗೆ ಆಪದಾಂ ಎಲ್ಲ ಬರತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಏನೇ ಒಂದು ತೊಂದರೆ ಇದ್ರೂ ಸಹಿತ ಅದನ್ನು ಅಪಹರಣ ಮಾಡತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಯೋಗ ಭಾಗ್ಯ ಅದು ರಾಮನ ನಾಮಸ್ಮರಣೆಯಿಂದ ಅಂತ. ಸೀತೆಯ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ವಾಲಿ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಸುಗ್ರೀವ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಲಕ್ಷ್ಮಣ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಹನುಮಂತ ಆಗಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಎಲ್ಲರನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಒಂದೊಂದೇ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅವರನ್ನು ಏನು ಸ್ಮರಣೆ ಮಾಡುವ ಮೂಲಕವಾಗಿ ಅವರ ವಿಶೇಷ ಅನುಗ್ರಹದ ಸಂದೇಶವನ್ನು ತಮಗೆ ಕೂಡ ಅನುಗ್ರಹಿಸಿದ್ದೀರಾ. ಎಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಅವರ ಆ ಎಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಅಚ್ಚುಕಟ್ಟಾಗಿ ಮತ್ತು ನಮಗೆ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀರಾ. ವಿಘ್ನೇಶ್ ಅವರೇ, ಎಲ್ಲ ಭಕ್ತವೃಂದದ ಪರವಾಗಿ, ಹ್ಯೂಸ್ಟನ್ ಮಹಾಜನತೆಯ ಪರವಾಗಿ, ನೆರೆದಿರತಕ್ಕಂತಹ ಎಲ್ಲರ ಪರವಾಗಿ ತಮಗೆ ಹೃತ್ಪೂರ್ವಕ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳನ್ನು, ಅಭಿನಂದನೆಗಳನ್ನು ಅರ್ಪಿಸುತ್ತಾ, ಇದೇ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಇನ್ನು ಮುಂದೆಯೂ ಸಹಿತ ದಶಮಾನೋತ್ಸವದ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮ ಇದೆ. ತಾವೆಲ್ಲೂ ಬಂದು ಸಹಕರಿಸಬೇಕು, ಅನುಗ್ರಹಿಸಬೇಕು ನನ್ನನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ಮಾತ್ರ ಅಲ್ಲದೆ ಇನ್ನು ಮುಂದೆಯೂ ಸಹಿತ ಇದೇ ಮೂಲಕವಾಗಿ ಪ್ರವಚನದ ಮೂಲಕವಾಗಿ ಅನುಗ್ರಹಿಸಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಕೇಳಿಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತಾ ಕೃಷ್ಣಾರ್ಪಣಮಸ್ತು. ಮುಂದಿನ ವಾರ ಭಾನುವಾರ ಇದೇ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ಸುಭಾಷಿತಗಳ ಬಗ್ಗೆ, ಸುಭಾಷಿತೆಯ ಏನು ಎಸೆನ್ಸ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ನಮಗೆ ಅನುಗ್ರಹಿಸಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ ಬಂದು ನಮಗೆ ಅನುಗ್ರಹಿಸಲಿಕ್ಕಿದ್ದಾರೆ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಸುಮಿತ್ರಾ ಭಟ್ ಅವರು. ಎಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂಡ ಇದೇ ರೀತಿಯಾಗಿ ಯೂಟ್ಯೂಬ್ ಚಾನಲ್ ಮೂಲಕವಾಗಿ ಬಂದು ನಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆ ಕೈ ಜೋಡಿಸಿ ಆ ಸುಭಾಷಿತೆಯ ಏನು ಮಹತ್ವ ಏನು ಅಂತ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಂಡು ಅದರ ಬಗ್ಗೆಯೂ ಕೂಡ ತಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲ ಅನುಗ್ರಹಿಸಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಅವರನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಏನು ವೆಲ್ಕಮ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತಾ ಭಕ್ತ ಜನರನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಕರೆಯುತ್ತಾ ಅದನ್ನ ಮುಂದೆ ಏನು ಶುಕ್ರವಾರ ಯಕ್ಷಗಾನ ತಾಳಮದ್ದಳೆ ಇದೆ, ಶ್ರೀಕೃಷ್ಣನ ದರ್ಶನ ಇದೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕೂ ಕೂಡ ತಾವೆಲ್ಲರೂ ಕೂಡ ಬಂದು ಏನು ಸಹಕರಿಸಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಎಲ್ಲರ ಹತ್ರ ಕೇಳಿಕೊಳ್ಳುತ್ತಾ ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ಕೂಡ ಶ್ರೀಕೃಷ್ಣ ನಮಸ್ತೆ.